Hello, Chris Kallal here, Territory Agronomist for DeKalb Grow. Been getting a lot of questions lately about aphids in corn. So wanted to take a quick second and do a quick update. So first question a lot of guys give me is why are they so bad this year? It's probably easiest to blame it on a mild winter, but they generally don't overwinter here. They do come up from the south, and then they'll land and on weed species, generally some grasses first, and then move to corn. But it's probably easiest just to blame it on the mild winter we're having. It's predominantly at this point hitting most of the May planted corn around central and west central Illinois. We are finding it in a little bit of the earlier corn, but it is predominantly the May planted corn at this point in time. And what you'll see is if you look at the plant, you'll see these these aphids that they're all over the plant. They've got this greenish blue color to them. And some of them will eventually develop wings and fly off and start new colonies, but a lot of them will just stay on the plant themselves, and they will feed on the plant, and they end up kind of excreting a honeydew, if you will, on the plant, and kind of soaking the plant with it and covering it. And a lot of times what will happen is that they're feeding on the plant and they're sucking water and nutrients out of the plant. That's their food source. And so sometimes they will actually kill part of the leaf area, and therefore we have reduced photosynthetic capacities in that corn plant. Most of the literature you're going to find, if you were to do a Google search, most of the literature you're going to find is going to say once you're tasseled, it's economically not feasible to make an application to try to treat. And I guess there's a lot of us that are challenging that thought process, because what I just talked about is that post tassel, they're feeding on the plant. They're can kill part of the leaf. They are reducing photosynthetic capacity. And if you have plants that are severely covered with corn leaf aphids, you can actually end up with a barren stalk or a barren ear, because that plant has aborted all the kernels, basically because it was under so much stress that it couldn't feed all of those kernels. So most all of our corn across west central Illinois now is tasseled. In some cases, we've already made our fungicide application, so it's kind of tough to talk about going back and making another application across that field. If you haven't made your fungicide application so far, it's a much easier conversation. And in a lot of cases, I would suggest if you haven't made your fungicide application, or you're going to make a sequential fungicide application, to go ahead and throw an insecticide in with that fungicide that has efficacy against aphids. And not all insecticides have efficacy against aphids. Bifenthrin and dimethoate are two of the most common, but I'm going to encourage you to check labels and make sure that the insecticide you want to use or had planned on using actually has efficacy against aphids. At low levels, I'm encouraging people to not treat, right? You got to think about positive return on investment. And at low levels, it's probably not feasible to do it. And one of the other watch outs sometimes with running an insecticide and treating aphids is we will a lot of times kill the beneficiary insects that feed on the aphids. And so if we wipe out the beneficiaries, we can have a resurgence in population of the aphids really quickly and actually be more detrimental than what we originally had. So again, there's a lot of debate out there. There's some people that say you need 80% of the plants covered to treat. Some people will say 10% of the plants to treat. My thought process is if you've got less than 5% of the plants, and I'm going to challenge you to get off the inrows, not like I'm doing here today, but get off the inrows, get out in the field, do multiple counts. If you've got less than 5% of the plants covered with aphids, no reason to treat. If you've got 5 to 10 and you haven't made a fungicide application yet, let's talk. Probably going to be worth throwing it in. If you've got greater than 10% and you've got, and there's some fields that have got 20, 25, 30% of the plants covered in aphids, it's probably worth putting a airplane or a helicopter back over that field and making another application. I know that's painful, but that's the reality, to try to make sure we're doing our best to protect the yield potential that we've got in these fields today. If you've got any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks.